Chapter 7. Miles to go, 31. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? I know how many seats I got, and I know how many tickets I took. I didn't answer the bus driver. I stood back under the eave of the hotel, out of the rain. My legs were shaky and my hands sweated. I was too tired for this, and I didn't feel good. I squinted at him through the thrumming pain in my skull. You live in Elby or what? The driver's voice was cold and impatient. Like having an extra kid on a bus was the worst thing that could happen to a person. I wasn't in the mood. I glared at him, then rolled my eyes. Yeah? The driver shook his head. Don't be mad at me, kid. I don't get paid to give free rides. Thunder rumbled, and a rainy gust of wind tugged at his jacket collar. He looked back over his shoulder at the weather. Aw, heck, he said, then looked back at me with a tight mouth. You got parents or anything to call for a ride? I shook my head and tried to look sad and weak. It wasn't hard. Maybe I could get a free ride after all. But the driver just blew his breath out through pinched lips. I can't take you up with me, kid. With these new folks and their bags, bus is full. But this darn storm. He licked his lips. Stay here. They'll let you hang out in the cafe at the bunkhouse. I'll drop these folks at the top and pick you up on my way back down, and you can ride back to Elby. I didn't say anything. Tears burned in my eyes, but my anger was strong enough to hold them there. See you in an hour. You're welcome, he said with a snort. Then he turned and climbed back into the waiting bus. The rain really started coming down as the bus skidded out of the gravel parking lot. That bus was my only way to get to where I was going, and I knew it. Its taillights glowed red in the growing dark. I watched them get smaller and smaller, then disappear like two little wishes that wouldn't come true. Shivering in the rain while trying not to cry and throw up at the same time really sucks. That's the truth. I unzipped the duffel and Bo bounded out, wagging and panting. Everything was being taken away from me, piece by piece and day by day. He was all I had left. The tears beat my anger and dripped down onto my cheeks. I scratched him behind his ears. No more duffel for you, buddy, I whispered. No matter what. I don't care. Thunder rumbled again. The 2-lane highway was empty except for the puddles. I looked up the highway the way the bus had gone. The sky was a great gray wall of cloud. I knew the mountain was there, somewhere, but I couldn't see it. There's no point in going on, Bo, I said, my voice hoarse. I looked out at the rain, at the skies that were getting closer and closer to black. I swallowed and crouched down and scratched Bo behind his ears with both hands. I held on to him like I was drowning. His mismatched eyes looked somehow brighter in the darkness. He was with me. He was always with me. But there's no point in going backward either, I guess. I wiped at my cheeks with my sleeve. I sniffed and flashed Bo the smile he deserved. He smiled back in his toothy, doggy way. His eyes shone with everything good in the world. I lifted my camera and centered Bo's eyes in the frame. I snapped the picture. Bo's tail wagged harder. I reached down and scratched him behind the ears again. Come on. I pulled my fleece jacket out of my backpack and slipped it on. The rain was pouring down around me. I sealed my camera into the Ziploc bag I'd brought along just in case and slipped it into my backpack. I looked at the narrow black ribbon of the highway stretching out between the tall, dark pine trees. And, somewhere in that darkness ahead, a mountain lost in storm. Let's walk, buddy. We may not make it, but we'll walk until... My voice got lost in a rumble of thunder. I didn't know what ending I had planned for the sentence. Road stones crunched under the soles of my shoes. We'll walk until we get caught? Bo trotted beside me, nose sniffing at the mountain air. We'll walk until someone helps us? A burst of wind chilled down my neck, and I zipped my jacket up higher to my chin. We'll walk until we die? The bridge came closer, step by step, through the darkness. The metal girders looked like dull gray clay in the rain. My clothes were soaked. Rain had snuck down my collar and dripped down my back. I was shivering without stopping. It was dark enough to be night. It was almost nighttime anyway. The few cars that passed had their headlights on. None of them stopped. I suppose I was glad they didn't. Their insides looked warm as they disappeared, though. "That bus'll be back any minute," I said through chattering teeth to Bo. He looked up at me, still walking. "If he sees us, he'll stop. We need to get out of sight, and we need someplace covered to spend the night anyway." When we got to the bridge, I stepped down off the highway and cut through the weeds down to the river that it arched over. The darkness was deepening by the second, and I had to squint to see. The riverbank under the bridge was dry, but there was no place to sleep. Jumbled boulders crowded the bank. My body already ached enough. I couldn't sleep wedged between two rocks. I looked out over the river. Out in the white crashing water there was an island. It stretched under the bridge out of the rain. It was small and mostly sand. A wide fallen log reached over the foaming water, leading from the bank where I was stranded to the sandy island. I chewed my lip and looked it over. It seemed wet but stable. "What do you think, Bo?" Bo's tail thumped against my leg. "All right then, let's go for it." My shoe slipped on the wet bark on my first step, but I caught myself and took a more careful second step. It was a huge log, with a nice, flat top almost as wide as a sidewalk. I thought I could do it. I just had to take it slow. 4 steps out, I looked back to call Bo. He was standing on the bank, his ears back and his tail down. He whined. "Come on, boy," I called. "It's not that bad, really." Bo hopped nervously from paw to paw. I looked him in the eye and dropped my voice lower. "Come on, Bo. We can do this." Bo hopped up onto the log and followed me. I turned and kept going, step by careful step. The water roared underneath me. It churned black and white. It sounded loud and hungry. Halfway across, I realized it had been a dumb decision, but I kept on going. I darted a quick look back to see Bo right behind me. I took another step. 2 more. 3, 4, 5 more. My legs were shaking. My stomach somersaulted with sickness and squeezing fear. The headache pressed on the backs of my eyes with rude, sharp fingers. I risked a look up, away from my feet and toward the island. I was almost there. A stupid smile snuck onto my face. I was going to make it. Here's what I don't get. Why people always think they can do something just because they want to. With my eyes still on the white sand in front of me, the log slipped wetly out from under my right foot. I helicoptered my arms, trying to catch my balance. My other foot slipped. Through the thunder of the rushing water beneath me, I heard Bo bark. The sky whirled in front of my eyes, then the bridge, then nothing but angry water.